Hey y'all, it's Anime K-Man. Today I'm going to be reviewing the first episode of Fairy Gone, and I gotta say, this anime was actually pretty darn good, I gotta say, because what I like about this show is when it comes to the way it gives you off information, how things work, it doesn't just do it through, say, telling you, it thinks through gigantic ass exposition dumps. I like how this anime, it presents the information by telling you visually what's going on. Because while yes, this anime does have some exposition, most of it comes in naturally, like in this situation where you have our main character Marlia ask Gooey about fairies, and then he explains how fairies, normally people can't see them, but some people actually can. And I kind of like that because this episode established that normal people, most of them cannot see fairies. The majority of them. So that's actually nice information to present because it gives an explanation as to why most people wouldn't know that. Why that isn't common knowledge, because if most people can't see fairies, then it makes sense why people wouldn't know about them. So for one, I like the way it presented information. And then when there was the combat between fairy users, like when Veronica was taking on Gooey, I like how they presented information through visuals. Like in the sequence, Veronica's like jumping straight through bullets. At first I was like, wait, this feels off. But then when it shows how she can pretty much have the fairy that's within her body protect her, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And that's a good way of explaining the abilities of these fairies. Not through expositions, but through visuals. And then I like how as the fights were going on and they get somewhat wounded, the fairy users, they actually suffer wounds too. The similar wounds to what their fairies would suffer. They suffer a huge amount of impact. Like when Marlia was trying to stop Veronica and Gooey from fighting, and she did some burns to prevent the fight from escalating. It showed off some burn marks on Veronica's arm, and you know what? I kind of like that because it gave us all this information without treating its audience like as if there were viewers that didn't pay attention to shit. It's like, here you go, audience. And here's enough information to get what's going on. We're not going to hold your hand. And you know what? I like when anime does that. When it can trust its audience like that. So that's what I really liked about this episode. And it showed trust in its audience. At least from the first episode. For all we know, the future episodes might not give the audience that kind of trust. But for now, it's looking good. And I also like how from the story, it introduces an interesting world. Like, for example, all these fairies being kind of like burned down at the start. And this situation's coming off of a few years after this war ended, where a lot of people suffered. So it's gonna be interesting to see, like, the world building in the future episodes, and that's why I thought it was interesting from a story standpoint, because I feel like it's gonna set itself up to some more action set pieces, especially now with Marlia not having to work for the government. Now that a fairy went inside of her body, because the existence of people with fairies are banned unless they work for the government. So that's also a pretty cool setup. And I like how this episode even establishes her goal where she wants to look for Veronica. So all in all, I like this episode. Presents you information and it gives you a character goal in the span of an episode to have some kind of intrigue. Then from a character standpoint, I thought it did well. Because when the episode first started, it kind of gave a vibe that Marlia was naive. But then as it presented more information, it was like, okay, never mind. That explains why she was so reckless to try to get to her friend Veronica, because then they explain that Veronica's pretty much the only one from her town when Marlia was a child that also survived this situation, because everyone from the Suna town died, and that's why she's so dead set in trying to find her, because, well, that person's a connection to her past, and they had such a great friendship when they were kids. So that right there is also another way of justifying kind of like now I wouldn't say naivety, but the desperation of Marlia to want to look for Veronica too. It makes you kind of invigorated in seeing how she's going to accomplish her goal. So that was also another cool thing about this episode. And I thought it gave Marlia a good amount of characterization too. Kind of has like that kind of energy that just makes you want to follow the series. As for other characters like Gooey and Veronica, it didn't really give them much characterization, but it's just the first episode. And additionally, it does make it seem like Veronica is going to be fleshed out later on. So there is more hope for character development in future episodes. So it opens the door for that. Same with Gui. Cannot wait to see where that's gonna lead to. And it kind of did make him seem interesting when he mentioned that he used to be a fairy soldier. So for all we know, maybe we can get glimpses at his past. So that was pretty cool. And that's what I thought I did pretty decent from a character standpoint. Didn't do exceptional, didn't do bad, but it was pretty nice. Now, as for the art animation, my goodness, it was beautiful. I like the way it took the approach of having the fairies be CG because it gives them like an otherworldly feel, you know? And while the human characters, they're actually hand-drawn. Because sometimes animes take the approach of having both human characters and the non-human characters kind of be CG. But like how the anime at least is like, no, they're going to make the humans hand-drawn. And every single time there's like a fight scene, the Sakuga is really, really great looking. Like, it was fast, it was fluid, it was powerful. And the choreography was good because whenever there's like action sequences, you see like the people trying to like aim for the body parts of the individuals. So that was also a really cool thing about the fight scenes. So our animation, we're actually spotless. That was actually the strongest element about this episode. I'd say soundtrack was pretty decent, but the opening was fucking lit though, I gotta say. I'd say it's my, say when it comes to openings, as far as openings go, that's like my second favorite opening of the season. Only behind Kimetsu no Yaiba, that's my favorite opening of the season. So it gets higher marks from me in regards to that. And the voice performances are pretty good. And taking all these factors into consideration, I'm going to rate this episode a 7.5 out of 10. Thought it introduced a decent cast. I thought this episode was above average for sure. At least from a first episode. And I'm going to eagerly anticipate more. And I'm most likely going to be live reacting to the next episode and reviewing it, probably. So anyways, guys and gals, these are my thoughts on Fairy Gone Episode 2. Comment down your thoughts in the comment section below on how you felt about the episode. Rate the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Subscribe for more. Alright, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.